Let's take you to the story now. Chicco Twala's son, Longwe Twala, will make his second court appearance at the Randburg Magistrates Court. This happens today. Now, Longwe was arrested after his father opened a case of robbery and theft against him at the Douglasdale Police Station. He has been accused of stealing his father's studio equipment at his home in Fourways, Johannesburg. For more on the story now, let's bring in senior reporter Chriselda, who joins us now live. So, Chriselda, now Longwe makes his second appearance following his brief appearance on the 4th of September. Take us through what we can expect to come out of court this morning.
Well, that's right. This is Longwe Twala's second appearance. You recall last week this matter was postponed inside this court to allow for bail information to be obtained. You know, of course, part of what needs to be verified is the address where Longwe Twala would then say he will stay. That's if he is granted bail. But SABC News understands from Chicco Twala is that he does not want his son to be granted bail. You recall his father indeed had opened up a case of theft and robbery against his son. He had travelled to the United States of America, and his father alleges that Longwe Twala and his brother had entered his house and stolen some recording equipment amounting to a couple of thousand of rand. But what you would recall, Mkolisi, is that while this case was underway last week, while Longwe Twala was appearing on these allegations, much of the focus indeed had shifted towards the sentiments that were shared by his father. You would recall, of course, at the High Court in Pretoria, where the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial is currently underway, the defence has contended that Longwe Twala had something to do with the death of Senzo Meyiwa, that there'd been a scuffle inside the home of Kelly Khumalo's mother, which is the crime scene, and he had basically, during that scuffle, shot and killed Senzo Meyiwa. So this is what the defence had contended inside the High Court in Pretoria. This is the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. So there was expected to be, as it did happen last week, a lot of focus on, what his father would say after what had come out of the High Court in Pretoria. And we saw his father, Chicco Twala, who'd opened up the separate case against his son, basically professing his son's innocence following those remarks or arguments that were made by the defense in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. His father basically saying that as far as he believes, his son has got nothing to do with the murder of the soccer star. And you would recall, of course, one of the witnesses that had taken the stand in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. This was ballistics expert Colonel Chris Mangena. He did tell us that Chicco Twala, who is Longwe Twala's father, his pistol had been taken for ballistics testing, but it didn't match the exhibits that were taken from the crime scene. But I want us to take a listen back to, in part, what Chicco Twala had to say, professing his son's innocence with regard to the death of Senzo Meyiwa. This is what he had to say last week. Let's take a listen.
Regarding the Senzo Meyiwa, I know that he didn't, because I know him. He's a thief, he's a druggie. But him shooting Senzo, whatever, is nonsense. Whatever people are saying about him, I know he won't do that. You understand? And if I was protecting him, why would I actually, this man was in the street. All his life is in the streets. I only accept him there and there when he comes back from rehab. But most of his time is in the street. If I'm protecting him against maybe him being my son, protecting him, why would I leave him in the streets to suffer? Why am I actually opening a case for him to be imprisoned if I'm protecting him for the Senzo Meyiwa?
That's exactly the clip that you actually rolled for us as well last week, Chriselda, in one of your raps as you continued to bring us up to speed with this particular story. I want you to maybe give us context in terms of what this now means when you have Mr. Twala also coming out and making such statements.
Well, Mkolisi, you would recall that the assertion or the argument that the defense in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial had made was that there'd been some kind of scuffle inside the home of Kelly Khumalo's mother. And this is where the gun had gone off. So the defense basically says that Longwe Twala had shot and killed Senzo Miwa using his father's gun. But in part, Chicco Twala, when he attended the court appearance last week, this is the first court appearance of his son after opening up this case of theft as well as robbery in a separate matter, of course. Journalists did take the opportunity to ask him about his thoughts regarding what the defense said in the Senzo Miwa murder trial. What they were arguing was that Longwe Twala, there was some argument that had taken place inside the house where Miwa was killed. The gun had gone off, and that Chicco Twala's gun had been used to shoot and kill Senzo Miwa. Also, to that, Chicco Twala saying that as far as he's concerned, his gun has got nothing to do with the shooting of Senzo Miwa. He'd always had his gun in his possession. His gun had never been lost, you would recall. And the name of Chicco Twala, remember, in the Senzo Miwa murder trial, there were questions about who this gun had belonged to. So there's a gun that had been registered to Chicco Twala, and that gun had gone for ballistics. But we heard once again from the ballistics expert who was on the stand before the one that is currently on the stand, that gun had been taken, Chicco Twala's gun had been taken for ballistics testing, but it did not match the exhibits that had been taken from the scene. So Chicco Twala saying that he doesn't mind the fact that his gun had been taken for ballistics testing, and he would understand that because Longwe Twala was in fact one of the people that was inside the house at the time that Senzo Miwa was killed, and the defense, of course, making these assertions that Longwe had anything to do with the killing of Senzo Miwa. He basically brushed it off, saying it is rubbish, saying that he doesn't understand why the defense would be making these assertions. The defense in the Senzo Miwa trial is basically clutching at straws. So while Longwe Twala was appearing last week, as you would hear this morning, on these allegations of robbery and theft, much of the focus certainly had shifted last week to asking his father about these arguments that were made inside the High Court in Pretoria. This, of course, at the Senzo Miwa murder trial, because the questions, of course, that had been raised were about, you would recall, amongst those that were inside the house who've already taken the stand, include Mthokoziseni Twala, as well as Tumelo Madlala, as well as Zandi Kumalo. And, there would be questions about whether Longwe Twala would also be called to the stand. But we're not sure at this particular stage whether that is going to happen, because you would recall, we also heard the reason why his father has opened up this case against his son relating to alleged theft and robbery. Longwe Twala, according to the father, has been in and out of rehab at least about 30 times. So whether Longwe Twala will be called in that other matter, given what we've heard inside court and the arguments that the defense has made that Longwe Twala has got something to do with the death of Senzo Miwa, is certainly something that remains to be seen. So much of the focus had shifted away from this particular case that he is here in court for, and much more on what we've heard coming out of the Senzo Miwa murder trial. But Chicco Twala is not inside court today. In fact, I have confirmed with him that he will not be coming to court. He also did, however, tell me that he does not want his son to be granted a bail.
And Chriselda, I know you've had your pulse firmly on this story. I want to find out from you, because I know from last week when this arrest was actually actioned, it sent social media on a frenzy. What has the Court of Public Opinion been saying as far as this particular case is concerned? What have you been hearing?
Well, I really wouldn't want to opine on the Court of Public Opinion, because I think what really matters in this case is what we hear inside these courts. Certainly with regard to the allegations that are being made here at the Randburg Magistrates Court, with Longwe Twala's father opening up this case of theft and robbery after allegedly stealing this equipment amounting to a couple of thousands of rand. This particular matter will remain to be seen if he is granted bail in this particular matter. But of course, relating to the assertions or the arguments that the defense in the Senzo Miwa murder trial about Longwe Twala's alleged involvement in the killing of Senzo Miwa, that was certainly something that was going to raise the ire of many, because I think many people still do believe that the people who would have the answers about what happened inside that house are the people who were present when these two or when these alleged robbers had entered the house and this incident had taken place. This, of course, relating to the murder of Senzo Meyiwa. So certainly in the court of public opinion, you'd have a lot of comments about what is being raised inside the court. But I think ultimately what would matter is what the court believes at the end of the day.
That's our very own Chriselda watching that story for us. We'll leave you to get back to court and watch it for us further.